This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 28 of the Stable Scoop Radio Show on the Horse Radio Network. Desperate Horsewives.
Welcome to the Stable Scoop, with weekly shows delivered right to you. With Helena and Glenn the Geek, live from the stable, it's every week. They'll bring you the news through hail or high water, while using their tails as their own fly swatters. So sit on down and laugh till you poop, cause it's time again for the Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop. The Stable Scoop. Stable Scoop.
I am Helena B., and this is a special episode of the Stable Scoop Radio Show. And I am just absolutely beside myself because I actually have an official excuse to sit around with my horsey friends and chew the fat. We have with us today three very special women. My co-host, Glenn, has the best wife in the world. She's a dear, dear friend, and I'd like everybody to welcome Jennifer Hebert.
Hi-ho.
Hi. Hello. And then we have another good friend of mine. Sissi and I are relatively new to each other, but we've both been around horses for a while. Sissi Finn, she's from up here in Wenham, Massachusetts, so welcome, Sissi.
Thank you. Hello.
And we also have Dina Berquist. And Dina and her husband have started, their claim to fame is a fabulous social networking site, for lack of a better term, called equestrianlife.com, which by far blows away any other social networking site out there. It's very well done. Both Dina and her husband are involved in horses, and I think your children are as well. Is that right, Dina?
Absolutely, and thank you for the kind compliments. We really appreciate it.
Oh, we love Equestrian Life. So what we're going to do today is basically talk about what it's like to be married, to be addicted to horses, and the sometimes desperate things I guess we do in order to make sure we keep horses in our lives and our husbands happy, and our kids too. So what do you think? You think this is a good topic for conversation?
Absolutely.
I don't know if it's a good topic to broadcast to the world, but it's a good topic for conversation.
Well, I'll start, and then you guys can follow suit. One of the things that I find that I have to deal with being married and having obligations outside of horses is the guilt factor about how much time it takes to have horses and be involved with them, because my husband's not horsey. So do any of you have that guilt factor, or how do you balance the whole time thing?
Silence.
So this is Dina, and I guess I feel fortunate because John has actually come to the dark side and is probably as passionate, if not more passionate, about horses than I am. So in our relationship, it ends up being the thing that we, spend a lot of time doing together, and sort of our special time together. So,
how long have you guys been married?
A while, long time.
And he was not horsey when you met?
No, actually, he got bored of watching everybody else ride and decided, it must not be that hard to ride. So he decided he needed to jump into the action rather than just watching all of us.
He had the when in Rome doing the Romans do syndrome.
Exactly. Exactly. So if I have to come watch, I might as well, get on a horse and try to do it myself.
Smart man.
Yeah, exactly.
And how do you feel about his getting involved to the degree? Is it a good thing?
Oh, I love it. I don't have to feel guilty at all because he's the one that's spends more money on tack and horses and everything else, more than I do. I'm trying to hold him back half the time. He now thinks he wants to get into polo, which I'm like, oh gosh, no, it's like another whole area of.
Now wait a minute, don't you folks have mules?
No, we've got a bunch of hunter jumpers.
Oh, that's right. You guys got the hunter jumper guys, and you guys also have some kids that do that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you have the Swiss Family Robinson of horse families.
That's like every woman's
Something
holy
like
grail.
that.
I know. What a dream. What a dream.
Right?
My
Throw the
husband
kids
has
in-
not
Yeah,
gone
it's
to the
actually-
dark side.
He's not.
No?
No, he's not very horsey, is he?
No, he's not. But I do have a clever plan in place to get
Which
him to be
is?
horsey. Well,
What's
with my
that?
new move, I'm going to get the whole family involved, and we're going to
Tell us about
lots of
that.
horses.
That's
Well,
a pretty cool deal.
my husband and I have been picked to be the curators of a very old house in Bradley Palmer State Park out here in Massachusetts, and 700 acres will be our backyard. And so we've negotiated some land with this deal, and I'm going to bring some horses home and hopefully get the whole family out there.
That's fab. You can go right out your back door and go for an all-day trail ride.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
I'm coming to your house.
You can come move in.
I want my own room.
The best part about that deal is you don't have to go to any family gathering that you don't really want to go to because you have the excuse of, sorry, got to take care of the horses.
Absolutely. I didn't even think of that.
It
Wait
can
a
be real
minute.
boon.
Right?
Have you used that excuse, maybe, Jen?
Who, me? Me? No, I deny it. I deny it.
Well, wait. Okay, you've also got it kind of easy because you've converted your husband over to the dark side.
Well,
Right.
see, he's a little bit unique in that he's not a horse guy. He's a horse people guy. He'll sit around and gab about horses and hang out with horse people till his eyelids fall closed. But he is not prone to hopping on their backs, and really doesn't miss cleaning stalls even a little bit. It was really hard to ever convince him to scrub a water bucket. Somehow.
Did he? So he had no involvement with horses at all before you
So
guys
funny 'cause
met.
he's so passionate.
He's passionate about the industry and the people in it
Yeah.
versus those of us who have the horse virus or gene. We're passionate about the animals and our interaction with the animals, and the animals' interactions with each other.
Yeah.
He's more about, and I think this probably stems from being around me too much, is he's passionate about figuring out and understanding and enjoying the people who have that disease. So he's really a horse fanatic doctor, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, he is a real people person. He's energized by people and human relationships.
Oh gosh, yes. He never tires of rolling his eyeballs when we're on vacation and we drive past a tack shop in some town we've never been to, and I'm going, oh my God, stop now! Yeah, he rolls his eyeballs and he stops.
At least he stops.
Yeah.
He stops. Now he sits in the car and
I was going to say, does he go in?
well, what he'll do, he'll go in for a little while.
Yeah.
And then he'll go back out to the car and listen to a podcast.
All right. I could
good.
never, ever drag my husband into a tack shop. He wouldn't know what to do. He'd sit on the front step.
Absolutely. Mine
Right?
too. Right. They'd be together.
They'd be together
Yeah.
in the front
Mark.
step. There you go.
Yeah. Or he'd I could see him picking up a piece of equipment with his thumb and his pointer finger and like, what's this for? You know? Just roll my eyes. Oh, get out. Go wait outside.
Yeah, there you go. So the separation works for you guys.
Well, I'd love for him to be more involved, but when he does come up to the barn, he invariably finds himself puttering with things mechanical, or a hammer will suddenly appear out of nowhere, or a drill, and he starts puttering. Not so much with the horses, but he'll find himself some busy work. And
That's
so
always good, though. You need to plant
Right.
that hammer somewhere key.
I know. I guess I should.
Yeah, maybe a little tin can full of nails in the general area of some broken fencing.
There you go.
Yeah, he's the guy who likes to feel useful, and he's very supportive. He's quietly supportive. So that means I can pretty much take as much time as I want and push the boundaries of fairness, I guess.
There ain't no fairness, honey.
I push those boundaries quite a bit. And he doesn't, he just says, nods his head quietly, and that's fine, and that's great, honey, and good for you. But I don't think he's really going to be proactive about horses, and I guess I'll just have to, I'm okay with that. Because I'm working on my 6-year-old. I'm gradually giving her little teaspoons full of horsedom.
Oh, she's in deep already, Helena.
Yeah, I guess so.
You don't have to feed her anything. She's in. she's got the disease.
But I kind of wish that he has his own passions, and I would like him to get something a little bit more time consuming so that I would stop feeling so guilty.
Is he passionate about photography at all?
No, he's a foodie.
Nice.
He's a chef. So he does like to cook, but that doesn't get him out of the house.
It's called Food Network Challenge.
He'd be fabulous.
There you go. Sign him up.
He's talking about getting back into sailing.
That's very time consuming.
That would be good.
And it's funny because, I'm constantly on Dream Horse, constantly getting emails from Sissi and Jen and everybody else I know. Look at this horse and look at that. And I'll show him. He's like, what are you doing on your computer? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm trolling Dream Horse again. And finally, last night, he showed me an ad on Craigslist for a sailboat.
Ooh.
You know what that means, though, with Peter? That means he's been dwelling on it for months now.
I know.
Yeah.
So I kind of looked upwards towards the heavens and said, oh, please, God, let him find a hobby.
So Dina, Helena and Sissi alluded to her little one starting to get into horses. When yours were coming up, did you feel the urge to just instantly immerse them in your horse passion, or were you cognizant of going, I don't need to push my passion onto my kids, let them figure it out?
Yeah, we never, all the kids are quite different, and we don't really push them in any particular direction. We kind of let them figure out what they're passionate about.
This is the important question, though. Were any of the kids in the barn in the stroller while you were grooming your horse?
I have to say yes.
Yes!
In the Baby Bjorn, yeah.
Absolutely.
Those things are awesome. I had Grace in the Baby Bjorn.
Absolutely. Yeah. I personally think that whole horse fanatic virus that we have really is airborne. And somehow or another, all of us sucked in some kind of horse virus as we drove past a horse farm on the interstate while our moms were pregnant or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's probably something to that, actually. Yeah.
Well, that's a good segue to how did we all get involved with horses, and how did we? What's your horse life been from the minute you got into it up until now? So, Jen, let's hear how you got started.
Oh gosh, I inherited the gene from my mom, who inherited it from a number of her relatives. And real early on, I think I was 5 years old. The family went to a horse auction and bought a horse of completely inappropriate personality and gender. And we promptly took this little horse and tied him to a cinder block in a field next to our house. Yeah, he was tied to a cinder block. And let's just say it was a disaster. But I was one of those kids that, I had the gene. It didn't matter. I got kicked, dumped, everything else. It had to be a horse. And I was really lucky because there were 6 children in our family. And I was the youngest. And as the others grew out of horses and discovered boys, girls, cars, whatever, I got to inherit their ponies. So I got everybody else's ponies too. And every one of them was a meat auction reject. We were of that ilk, but I didn't care. They were all mine.
And that carried you right through Pony Club. You spent a long time in Pony Club too, didn't you?
Yeah, I started that when I was about 14. I thought I was pretty hot stuff at that age because I could ride anything that bucked, bolted, and reared. And I knew nothing. All I could do was cling like a little burr. And then I joined Pony Club, which thank goodness my mom got me to do that because I needed to have my ego checked a little bit at that age. And it was great. I just took it on and said, daggone, this is exactly what I need, because if you want to, you can really push to learn a great deal from that organization. And that really focused my passion for the critter.
Yeah, I often refer to Jennifer as and this is with total affection as a freak of nature, because she is a walking encyclopedia of horse knowledge, both practical and book learned. Pony Club really set you up. But
well, frequently in the business I'm in now, occasionally people would ask what school I graduated from, and it really is the School of Hard Knocks. But you can learn a lot in the School of Hard Knocks if you ask enough questions of the doctors who are putting you back together.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So
And-
that's kind of my story.
And do you have any horses right now?
You had to ask that. No. Well, technically, yes. No, I don't really have any horses. The good old Pharaoh is only actually ours as much as anything. You and me and Helena, just because when it comes time for him to obtain room temperature, I'm in charge of the arrangements. But other than that,
Yeah.
you know, he's just hanging out in a pasture eating grass back in Pennsylvania.
He was fabulous. He was technically my first horse.
And a very good choice, by the way.
Yes, he was 30-something when I got him.
That's perfect.
And yeah, and worth his weight in gold and then some. But Jen, you're living in Lexington, Kentucky. You're in the middle of you're at the center of the horse universe.
By some folks' standards, you bet we are.
And what just quickly tell everybody a little bit about what you've done with the Secretariat Center.
The Secretariat Center is a part of a larger organization called Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation, which was started a number of years back by some folks who were concerned and involved in the racing industry. A number of large farm owners, prominent trainers and the like, realized that they needed to do something to raise awareness about the fact that ex-racing thoroughbreds can be wonderfully useful animals beyond the racetrack and have a venue for that. And they started the TRF. The Secretariat Center is the only division that specifically exists to retrain thoroughbreds. The larger number of horses that are involved are horses that are literally retired. They come off the track, they stand in a pasture, they get groomed and fed every day, and live out their lives happily for the next X number of years. They work a lot with state penitentiaries and prisons, and they actually use the program to help rehabilitate inmates, which is really kind of a cool program.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and one of them, it's kind of weird because here the Secretariat Center is at the Kentucky Horse Park, and it is open to the public. Visit anytime.
It's gorgeous.
But right down the street is Blackburn, which is a prison where they also have some of the horses. And when you're driving down I-75, some of those pastures full of horses you see before you get to Lexington are the horses that live at Blackburn. But I go over there to the Secretariat Center as much as I can, and I hop on some of their horses and putter around with them, and it's great fun. Susanna and I have a great relationship, and I get to sit on the horses and ask them what they would like to become, because right now they know how to be a racehorse. It's kind of like a young person in high school. He doesn't know if he wants to be a soccer player if he's never seen a soccer game. And we try to introduce the horses to lots and lots of different experiences in a positive way so we can help them determine what they're going to be good at, rather than saying, you've got the best trot in the world, you're going to be a show hunter. Maybe not. He might have a gorgeous trot and might despise being in a riding arena. So we try to do that, and then once we figured that out, just give them the basics. Yes, I know what a leg is for and what an inside and outside rein is for, and then see if we can't move them on to a new home where they can be happy for many, many years to come.
Oh, someday.
It's enormous fun because the horses always have something to say. It's just so much fun sitting on their backs and going, what do you think? And it's a lot of fun because some of them think and some of them don't. And when the little light bulb comes on and they go, oh, I've just had a thought. And when you're a 3-year-old thoroughbred, a single complete thought is a big deal. It's a really big deal. And when they finally have that moment, it's so much fun. It's like a child's first step.
Thoroughbred retraining is actually a pretty good spectator sport, too, if you know what you're looking at. Because you can actually see those little light bulb moments.
Yes, you can see them going, oh, I thought, woohoo. Yeah, they do. It's not like quarter horses, even when they're green, they're going, do-do-do-do-do. You can see their little brains are going. The American racing thoroughbred is not designed for that. They really are my favorite flavor of horse, and you might have noticed that by my tone. But they're really not designed for thinking at an early age.
Okay. I was kind of like that.
Yeah, there we go.
Now,
we can all relate.
Sissi, you're a big fan of the quarter horse, and
course.
tell us what's your deal? Where you come out of the woodwork. We want to hear all about you.
Oh dear, what's my deal? I started riding when I was about 6. So Jen and I are the same in that respect. My grandmother actually, I thought about this today. When did I start riding? My grandmother had bought a horse from my aunt, and she did some riding, but just, kind of trail riding and things like that. And I caught the bug, and I started having lessons over at a little stable in Beverly, which is near us, called Pine Tree, and took lessons there for years and years. And then we didn't have a lot of money, so my parents said, well, we can't, do this anymore. And I was about 9 years old, and I picked up the Yellow Pages, and I found a stable and called and said, I would love to muck your stalls, and ended up at a great stable in Hamilton, Mass, called Pine Grove Stables, and I was a working student for many years. Got to go out hunting and learn from Patty Murray, who is a wonderful equestrian.
And a legend around here.
A legend who's no longer with us. But and then I found boys and fell out of horse life for a while and was a grown-up for a while and had children. And I have fallen hard back into horse life.
Yeah.
What was the trigger?
Now that I'm in my 40s, but I'm not as brave as I used to be. And so that's, I think, why I kind of tend to like a quarter horse a little more. I think they have good heads on their shoulders, and
They have an excellent sense of self-preservation.
Right,
So
right,
important.
and I'm all about that.
Yeah, it's like, some of these higher strung breeds are like sitting in a race car with a driver that has a death wish,
Right, right.
They should first ask questions later, but the quarter horse kind of brings you along for the ride. It's like, all right, we got to save ourselves, and you're coming with me, so hang on, honey.
Right, exactly. But one more thing I just wanted to say, too. I have MS, and I've had it for 20 years, and a lot of people talk about how good riding is for MS, and one of the reasons is, I guess, it's one of the only sports that use both sides of your brain, which I find really interesting.
Oh.
So if for nothing else...
Let's qualify that. When done well, it uses both
well,
sides.
then maybe it's not as beneficial as I think it is. But I can hold my own.
That's yeah. You certainly can. So it helps with MS in that it actually keeps both sides of those brains going and exercised and functioning.
Right, exactly. You need to exercise your brain with everything, but it helps because the MS kind of is misfiring signals, and so it helps. Maybe I'm just making this stuff up, but it sounds really good.
I'm forming a question this very minute, Sissi, because a seminar I went to several lifetimes ago touched on these kinds of things with teaching riding and left brains and right brains. Give me an example of something that really exemplifies you using both sides at the same time while you're on a horse.
Let's see. Okay, because one side is your thinking side and the other side is your physical side, right? Is that how it works?
Right.
Okay, so when would I be using both sides of my brain? Perfect example. Last year I sat on a horse who happened to be a thoroughbred who had been on the track, and I've always ridden appies and quarter horses and horses like that, and I didn't realize that when you ask a horse to stop and you pull your reins back, that with a lot of thoroughbreds that race, that means go. And so I had to use both sides of my brain to physically hold on and not come off this horse who decided to take a few jumps while she was taking off with me.
Oh, yummy.
And had to use my thinking part of the brain to figure out how can I stop this horse besides just with my physical strength.
So you had to overcome your instinctive urge to pull.
Right.
And overcome that with a cognizant movement with your physical body to do something that was your body was saying, no, don't do that.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I think that's one good example of why you do.
And you have to do it on the fly. It's not like you can plan ahead. I mean, sometimes you can, but
you have to do that at 35 miles an hour.
Yeah, right. I was going about $180 over a few jumps.
Wow.
at a full gallop. So yeah, I think that you really do have to use a lot of your brain to be on the back of a horse.
And to stay on, and the other side of your brain to stay on.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
anyway.
So right now, but you don't have any horses right now, right?
No, I do not. And unfortunately, I have spent the last year sitting on a lot of horses. And even Helena and I have been to Pennsylvania and back a few times. Brought some horses back, and nothing's worked out so far. But I think I've learned a lot. And maybe this year we'll find something. But if not...
Well, with 700 acres to ride on.
I know, right? I think it's something.
Well, and since this is the Desperate Horsewives show, I use this analogy with Helena sometimes with other folks. If you were dating and you only dated 5 guys in a year and couldn't find one you wanted to marry, would you be upset? Hello?
Right.
Because, those of us with the virus, and you probably feel this way too, Dina, when you're taking a horse into your life, that's for most of us, a real emotional commitment.
Oh, it's very emotional. Yeah.
And that's why we become so obsessed with, just the right color of curry comb.
It's true. It's true. And that's why that's why I'll never board my horse anywhere again. I need 100% control over everything that happens. But I think it would be easier to find a husband or a boyfriend than it is to find just the right horse.
Well, at least the husband or boyfriend has the potential to communicate clearly.
That's true.
Well, there's lots of horses out there who are much better communicators than some men I know.
Well, see, but maybe that's because we speak better horse than people.
Yeah.
Ah,
right.
See?
Or it could just be that my standards for horses are higher than my standards for men.
Yeah.
All right, so Dina, now how did you find yourself in this Desperate Horsewives predicament?
Well, it's funny. I was listening and envious that you all started when you were so young, because I actually didn't start riding until I was probably in my late 20s, early 30s.
Did you always know you wanted to, or you just didn't have the opportunity until then?
I don't know. I grew up in the Midwest and, spent a lot of my time in other sports, but wasn't really around horses. And when I got to California, I had a friend who unfortunately had lupus, and it was hard. She had a lot of horses on her property, and she wasn't able to ride some of them because they were just too hard on her body. So she asked me if I would start riding some of the horses, and she said, she would teach me if I would commit to riding them. And so for me, it sort of started out as more, something that I was doing with my friend and trying to help her. And then I sort of, once I started, then it's sort of been,
no turning back,
to the deep end, and I've never come back. Yeah. So I started riding a little quarter horse named 10, and I didn't know what I was doing on my Western saddle, galloping up, the hills, and I'm sure, but really just kind of learning very naturally with her, because she was a very, very naturally gifted horse rider. And then I kind of got the urge to start jumping, and so then, started looking around this area for barns where I could do a little jumping. And of course, at the time, I didn't know anything, so I actually thought I knew how to ride a horse. So they asked me if I knew how to ride, and I said, of course, yes. And I had never actually sat on an English saddle, but so they put me in a class, like an intermediate jumping class. I never sat on an English saddle. They started to realize that I actually didn't know anything about riding.
You knew really, really well how to stay on, though.
I do how to stay. Yeah, I guess,
Yeah.
Ignorance is bliss. I sometimes long for the days when I thought I knew how to ride.
I do too.
Right?
Now I realize how little.
Yeah.
Little
on the other hand, though,
you
got to give yourself credit. There's knowing how to ride and knowing how to ride. There was a day that there was no such thing as a riding instructor. Because there's a lot of people out there who've taken thousands of hours of riding lessons that don't know how to ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so
anyway,
that's sorry. Go ahead. So we got you up to there. So now you're jumping, and you have no idea what you're doing, and you're in an English saddle, and was
no, and then I just then they realized they needed to kind of go back to the basics with me and teach me walk, trot, canter, all the basics. And we've been passionate about it ever since. And so kind of started, just doing little shows. And then, eventually we got more horses. And now, we try to ride probably, 4 to 5 times a week, jump a little bit every time we go out and ride. And
so whenever you and your husband get to go to the barn together, and this is something that Glenn and I butt heads on a lot, because he loves horses just fine. He's just not got the virus. He and I are constantly butting heads because when it comes to the barn and horses, I'm a control freak. It's done my way or the highway kind of person. Yeah. And, he's going to hang the bucket up with the thumb part of the snap sticking out, and that will drive me bonkers, and, I have to go change it. Yeah. How do you and your husband deal with differences on how things should be horse?
Oh, that's a good question. We sort of decided that he would be in charge of the horses.
Oh, you're generous.
Yeah,
you are a kind soul. Goodness.
It doesn't work to have both of us,
No, it doesn't.
Well, she's kind and smart. Let's hear how she finagled this one.
No, he knows a lot about horses, and he studies a lot, and he sort of reads a lot, and and on our website equestrianlife.com, he's in charge of all the content, and he built a whole wiki on the website.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so he's just done a ton of research and just knows a lot about it, and so it works great because he knows a lot. He knows the right questions to ask. He loves it. He's a little bit. He's like Glenn. He's like a man of the people, so he likes to talk to everybody and talk to them about, learn something about everything. When you're walking around a horse show with him, you would think he's the mayor of the horse show because
I always tell everybody Glenn is Bob Barker.
I think that's true. Yeah, they
and it sounds like you have a lot of confidence in him too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
that makes it easy.
Yeah, exactly. And the only time that it's been funny for us is when we actually, there was one period of time when we were competing in some of the same classes at the horse show, and he's also quite competitive.
When I listened to the Horse Husbands episode, I didn't get any of that.
He's very competitive, and so am I. And so, he just would do all of these things to, try to throw me off my game a little bit before I went into the ring. And he'd always make me go first so that, he could watch me do the round. Ooh. It was so funny. And he'd, walk in the ring and announce to everybody standing around that his goal was to beat me in that class. I'm like,
He was going on and on during the Horse Husband show about never having forgotten a jumping course. This is accurate information?
He said that?
He said that.
Yeah. He said he's never messed up his course.
Maybe he hasn't. I don't know. I can't remember a time that he has.
Well, this is what popped into my devious and really probably not so husband-friendly
brain. I'm trying to think. I guess I haven't seen him go off course, so maybe that's true.
What you need to do is get yourself to one of these smaller shows and get it set up so he's the first one in the class. Put up a bogus map.
There you go.
And then when he's not looking, you put up the real map. And maybe even let him watch somebody do the course properly when he's memorized it wrong, and just play with his head a little bit.
Oh, that's funny.
Maybe that's why my husband doesn't like going in the barn.
That's a great idea.
You think, Jen?
It's actually funny with him on the courses because usually I tell him what his course is because I'm a very visual learner, so I can look at the course and memorize it quickly.
Oh, so you're his coach?
No. But I do, that's why he makes me go first too, because he likes to watch to see. But he's more of an auditory learner, so I will tell him what his course is, and he can then memorize it. But he's so funny. He never looks at the course map, so I'm not sure if that would work.
And this whole conversation fascinates me because I am plain old course disadvantaged. I've messed up more courses than 10 other competitors combined. So I'm always curious about people who don't go off course.
Yeah, what's
possible.
Do you guys talk about this stuff?
That's why I started doing the hunters. It's much easier to remember your course.
Do you guys talk about this stuff over dinner?
We talk about it all the time. Yeah, I mean, with the website that we launched last fall, we spend all of our time talking about horse stuff. And we have to actually take time not to talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, that's
so the next 30
interesting.
minutes, no horse talk. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Can we not talk about it tonight, please?
If I get somebody who's got a horse-educated ear, I feel like, oh my God, there's just not enough time in the day. I want to talk more horses, more horses, more horses. I wonder what it would be like. Would it like? Do you ever want to stop, or do you have to stop talking about it? Do you have to give yourself, an hour break? We're not going to talk about horses.
Yeah, well, you know what I find, like, because we're doing this website. What I find is, I need time where we're not talking about the business. Of trying to, because we are so passionate about the website and really want it to be a great place for people to learn about riding, for them to get expert advice, for them to be able to ask questions and get answers, and it's something that we think about all the time. But we actually have to set times when we just agree that we're not going to talk about it, because otherwise,
because it's work as well as passion right now, isn't it? Because it's your work.
Exactly.
It's your profession in addition to your passion. So you have to say, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I he's a great sleeper, so it's he can talk about something right before he falls asleep, and he can sleep the whole night through. But for me, once we start talking about it, then I'm up half the night trying to figure out how we're gonna build the new group section, or how we're going to integrate X, Y, or Z.
And that, our devoted fans, is the difference between a horse husband and a horse wife.
Exactly.
That is it right there.
Exactly. So some nights I just tell him, please, we cannot talk about it tonight, because I have to sleep tonight and I can't.
Yeah.
Now, Sissi, your husband is not, Mark's not at all horsey. How does he feel about your involvement with horses and the time you take out? Even though you don't have a horse, you there's plenty of horsey things to do.
I know, there truly are. He's great. He lets me do whatever I want to do. So, horses or otherwise. But it's wonderful that he's okay with the horse thing, because it's such a big part of my life. Helene and I spend many evenings, being 12 years old, on dreamhorse.com, each at our own homes, on the computer, talking to each other.
Oh.
There's silence. We're not even saying anything. We're just scrolling through. And then go, oh, did you see that one? Oh, did you see that one?
Yeah. And there was more than once last year when, kind of last minute, suddenly, Helene and I are in the car off for a few days looking at horses. I mean, I'll be back in 3 days. I'll be back in 4 days. I'll be back, and he's like, okay, I'll see you later. So I have to say, yeah, definitely, he's great about it.
So do you think that stems from him understanding what it gives you, or just because he's an incredibly understanding dude?
I think he's just a really good dude. but
that always helps. Horse husband or not, any husband, that's always a good thing.
Yeah. He does like the fact that it brings me so much joy, and it's a little easier when I don't have a horse, because of course then I don't have to go to the barn every day, and things like that. But it's all good. It's all really good.
Will you tell him horse stories? Like, does he get it, or does he get that glazed over look like my husband?
Glazes
I was just
over.
going to ask that question.
Yeah, I was trying to tell him about your ride on the other day with your new horse, and he's like, "Huh?
Yeah.
What?"
Yep.
So never mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I'd like him to. He can ride. I have ridden with him. We went on a cruise, and he rode once. My 30th birthday, he took me on a trail ride at the scariest place, but he found it all by himself, and he came out riding with me.
Brownie points for him, man.
Yeah, he's got it in him. So he would ride if we ended up with some horses that were good for him. He would be right out there with me.
So let's say you get the Lamson house all set up, and you've got this whole state park out your back door. Do you think he'll be out there on the trails with you?
Oh, definitely. If I had a horse for him, yeah, he will.
Well, that's not a problem. We'll find one.
Well, I was going to say that just doubles your shopping obligation.
I had to find my own first. Last year, one of the horses that I brought back ended up being blind, so I didn't get one eye.
Well, he can still see outside the other side of his head.
Yeah,
he just didn't want to go that way.
Oh, well, that does cause problems, that single direction turn thing, yeah.
Right. He had no steering, and I'm looking for a fox hunter. So do you really want to take a horse out fox hunting that can't see?
Did that.
Well, that's probably not the best idea.
Yeah, she's the wrong person to say that.
Oh, God.
She was a thoroughbred. She did not have thinking cells. You pointed her, and she was going to run just as fast as the horse in front of her. It didn't matter if she could see.
Was that Hazel? No.
No, that was a different one.
Okay.
You go back to the mind that he was a quarter horse, so he was thinking about how can I not hurt myself.
Well, and he was thinking, it would be really stupid for me to turn that way. Human, what are you thinking? Yeah, you're right.
But he's like, I can't see. I'm not going that way.
That's right. See, she didn't care if she was going to run into a tree. If the horse went in front of her went that way, she was going too.
Oh my goodness. Well, needless to say, he went right back to where he came from after the summer was over. And
he wasn't quite suitable.
No. Poor guy. But anyway.
So, Dina, your husband is more horsey. Do you find yourself at dinner with friends starting to talk about horses and having everybody else at the table get the glazed look?
No, we're pretty unless we're having dinner with horsey people.
Oh, you're mannerly, aren't you? You don't talk about the boring stuff in front of your non-horsey friends.
Well, I don't know about. I mean, if it's mixed company, we have to just kind of
to tone it down.
Show some restraint. Yeah,
but you got to tone it down. Yeah.
Yeah, but usually we, a lot of times we have a lot of a dinner party and it's all horsey people, so we can all go crazy.
Well, then it doesn't matter. You can talk. Yeah, exactly. That's the best.
Yeah, but yeah, no, not so much. I mean, we've seen that look before.
Yeah, and see, some people are better at recognizing the glazed look, and some of us continue to blabber just the same.
That's me.
Yeah,
dinner at my house.
Category.
Well, I consider myself sort of an equine missionary. Like, I want to convert everybody. Well, so even if the conversation has nothing to do with horses, I will make it go. I'll turn it into a horse conversation.
This is no joke. People will stop Helena on the street and ask her about her horse. Yeah. Complete strangers who don't know who she is. They see Helena, and you can ride down the streets in the town where she lives. It's pretty cool. You're just walking down the sleepy little street in the sleepy little town on your pony, and Auntie Jane, who's visiting from Virginia, will stop Helena and start asking her questions about it. And all of a sudden, Helena's made a convert and she's ready to buy her first horse.
Oh, yeah. I'm like preaching up there. You can pet him. He's a 14-year-old quarter horse. You can take lessons. You don't need to be rich. You can be a worker.
Commitment from them.
Yeah, then I won't have to worry about
the horse thing. He's afraid you'll make him commit.
Well, we're so bad up here that we've started a little thing that we like to call book club. And we meet at the barn. And we tell our husbands we're going to book club, but we're really just going to sit in the barn and talk about horses.
Yeah, we bring a few cocktails.
Of course we bring cocktails, but we just sit in the barn and talk about horses. And, the boys think we're at book club.
Where are you going? Book club meeting tonight. We're going to book club. No, either they're on to us and they don't care, or they're just really that glazed over. But that's of no consequence.
It doesn't matter which it is.
Right.
It doesn't.
Right.
It's of no consequence. You're right.
So what book are you reading?
You do need to coordinate with the other gals on that, please.
Oh, goodness.
Now, if your husband starts telling you he's joining his own book club,
I'll know right what he's doing.
Yeah, you better watch out. I'm going to book club, hon.
Oh, boy. Well, all right, I just want you all to be aware that it's been 47 minutes.
Oh, wow.
That we've been blabbing here. Does it feel like that long to you?
No.
No, right. So this is how the life of a horsewife goes. I mean, you start blabbing about horses, and the next thing you know, an hour's gone by.
It goes by really fast.
Yeah,
really
that's the joy. That's the joy of the whole equestrian life. You can do that with 4 million horse people.
Exactly.
There you go.
Oh, and you can get all, I was up there putting I joined and I was putting up information about Zeke and horse businesses and looking at other people's horses and competition records and, successes and failures. And you up on equestrian life and an hour goes by and you go, oh, geez, I got to go to bed. I got to feed my kid.
Got to feed your kid. There you go. Now, this probably wouldn't be a good idea to do, but perhaps because, how in states where they have lot of gambling, like casinos, and you see them around here near the racetracks, they have the giant billboard that says, if you think you have a gambling problem, call 1-800.
Yeah.
Should there be something on Equestrian Life that if you think you have a horse addiction problem, please call? Or maybe a little alarm that goes off every 6 hours to encourage you to, doesn't the Wii every once in a while tell you to take a break and go outside?
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
When you play Wii, I think it does that.
I think it does that.
It's funny you say that because we've actually received some emails from some of the members who have asked us to start other websites around their husbands' passions so that they won't get in trouble for spending so much time looking at all the questions and watching the videos. And so we had a really fun wife ask if we would start a hunting site so her husband could spend as much time on the hunting site as she's spending on the Equestrian Life site.
Well, there you go.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Could you create a cooking one for my husband and a sailing one?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, we've been talking about that. Talking about that.
Well, let us know if you need a chef, you need a consultant. Well, I hate to wrap this up because I could go literally all night long, but we're getting to the end of the show.
Oh, it's the witching hour.
It is. We're quickly approaching 50 minutes, and I've got some housekeeping that I need to do. Blah blah blah. But I really,
everyone that thinks that all horsewomen should have a maid, please raise their hand.
Both my hands
raising
are up.
hands.
Yeah.
Both hands up.
Yeah.
Both hands up.
Hands up.
Hands maids and babysitters.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Right. So I just want to say thank you a gazillion times over to Sissi Finn, Dina Berquist, and Jennifer Hebert. Let's do this again.
Thanks for having us on.
Episode 2.
Thank you so much.
Let's do that. We can have our own little sub show. We can pick our own topics. And I have to say the funny thing is that the show was supposed to be sort of the counterpart to the Horse Husbands show, and talk about what it's like to be a horse wife. I love how we went off on a tangent and started talking about things that had nothing to do with husbands.
See, I don't think that they went. I don't think that they went over it on the Horse Husbands show, but that's probably that's the biggest problem horse husbands have, is they can't keep their wives focused on anything except horses for more than about 15 seconds. Right. But it is so permeated their life, they don't even notice anymore.
They give up.
They give up, yes!
I love it.
We are a smart bunch.
Yes, we are.
Well, thank you again, and I hope that I'm definitely going to do this again, and I hope that the three of you will join me.
It's been enormous fun, Helena.
Thank
great
you,
to meet the other two of you.
You too.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Helena.
Bye-bye.
What a great show. Honestly, I could sit around for hours and hours and hours and talk horses with my girlfriends. Maybe there's a spin-off show in there somewhere. Well, I thank you for joining us today, and I'd like to give you a heads up on some of the other great shows that are coming up on the Horse Radio Network. This week on the 2010 radio show, Glenn had the CEO of the Alltech FEI 2010 World Games Foundation speaking about the preparations for the 2010 World Equestrian Games. Visit 2010radioshow.com. And on the Eventing Radio Show, Glenn and Chris had the ultimate horsewomen on this week, Karen O'Connor and her longtime groom, Max. Karen and Max talked with Glenn about past Rolex events, the greatest pony in eventing, Teddy O'Connor, and what lies ahead in their future. Visit eventingradio.com for details. And be sure to listen to Stable Scoop next week, where we feature Mustangs and the Extreme Mustang Makeover. You can see our show notes at www.stablescoop.com. And as always, we love to hear from you, so send us feedback. You can call us at 270-803-0025 or send email to geeks@horseradionetwork.com. Thanks very much to our sponsor this week, The Barnworks. And again, we thank you for listening. I'll be back next week with my co-host Glenn the Geek. Of course, we'll be here with The Scoop.